Hey, this is John Carlos, and I'm here with a look at the McFarlane Toys Walking Dead Rick Grimes Resin Deluxe box figure. Box figure, let's be honest, it's a really big statue. And this thing was lent to me for review by my buddy Scotty. He's one of my partners in crime at the Nerdy Bull podcast. This big thing weighs like 16 pounds, and it's a pain in the ass to get out. Here's a look at the packaging, and I dig that it includes the comic book artwork on the side. And then up on the back here, I'll zoom in so you can kind of read the little spiel that's written there about Rick, at least the top part, which is in English. Alright, we've got the Certificate of Authenticity by Robert Kirkman and Todd McFarlane. Shake it up a bunch of times. When cutting the tape and opening this up, I recommend you put the skybound side up first. The other side has McFarlane, but if you put it that side up, all this stuff will be facing downward. So you've got Rick and two walkers, and then you've got the base and a walker and some of the little tiny accessories. Alright, I think I'm going to start off by attaching this arm with the walker underneath it. And then, I don't really see an instruction manual, at least. Maybe I'm just stupid and didn't find it in here. But his foot connects into the walker's chest right here. And then Rick has a foot peg and this walker has a foot peg. Well, let's worry about that arm in a second. Alright, well, that walker is connected. Alright, now I attach Rick's arm. And there's like a little tiny nub for this walker's foot to go into. It's not a full-blown hole and peg, it's just a little nub. There. Then we've got this walker, which fits into a hole right here with this peg on his hip. And lastly, we've got Rick's arm, which connects rather easily like so. And that's how you assemble it. And now we'll take a closer look at the four figures that make up this statue. Here's just a closer look at the first zombie here. You can see just sort of the grime and the grossness sculpted into her body. Here's a closer look at her face. I really do like that dead eye she has. You can see part of Rick's arm there, and it's a closer look at Rick and like the blood splattered shirt he's got, and a crotch shot leading up over to this walker. We'll take a closer look at his head in a moment, but here's a look at like his pose that he's in, and just like the sculpt of the fabric of his jeans. Here's a closer look at his grimy hand and arm, and we'll take a look at his like shirt and his gross back here. And we can follow that along to his arm. A lot of good sculpting going on here and some really good use of like red paint. And then we got his head getting blown out of the back of his head. Well, his brain's getting blown out of the back of his head. And man, I do like the textures used within this sculpt here. I think it looks pretty damn cool. I'll take a closer look at his head in a moment, but we can follow that up to Rick's arm and the gun. And I do like the way the flame kind of bursts out. It's a really cool effect. Here's a closer look at the walker's head getting blown apart. And I dig the eyeball. The paint on the eyeball is a nice touch. Here's the other side of the head where you can see all the brains getting blown out. And here's another closer look at Rick's head, because I didn't really show that before. But I do think they did a good job sculpting his face and sculpting the walker's designs to reflect Charlie Adlard's artwork. I think it is very reminiscent and a really good representation of how the Walking Dead comic looks. And lastly, I'll show you this walker that's down here. And I'll start by showing you just him. He's laying on his side, and then his kind of guts hang out. And I do like that the body's really dry, but then the guts are all kind of gross and wet. So I like the use of paint to create like different kind of textures and levels of dryness and whatnot. And then here's his gnarly head. And I like all the blood and guts coming out of his mouth. And I like the paint they used on his eyeballs. Lastly, I want to show you guys a closer look at the actual base. What's cool is the base itself rotates 360 degrees, which I think is a really nice touch. But you can see here that there's like a walker body, kind of stuck, maybe decomposing on the ground. We've got a little walker head with his eyeball hanging out. But you just see all like the rock work, the little green paint for like the mossy ground. The little piece of a zombie head there on the ground. Going for a closer look there. His eyeballs are all eaten out, so that's gross. But I like his mouth, I like the shape of his head. But what's cool about this rotating base is that it allows you to like keep the front plaque wherever you want, and then you can rotate the base to whatever angle you want while still maintaining like the frontward display of the plaque instead of, you know, turning to your favorite angle this way and losing that. So I think that's a really, really nice touch. Now the plaque itself is sculpted, and I do like the fact that there's some dimension to it with these zombies in the forefront and these walkers behind the chain link fence in the background. And also it's really well painted between like the actual wording and the zombie eyes. You know, if you've seen the trade paperbacks, you know, and you line them all up, they all have these kind of walkers lining the bottom. And I dig that it's got the number printed on the front here instead of on the bottom of the base. And I dig this. This is a really nice looking piece. Now it retails for like $295, which is a pretty penny, but it is a really big statue for almost $300. It's 12 inches tall and it's 4 characters and it's a rotating base, so you are getting quite the bang for your buck. Again, I gotta thank my buddy Scotty for lending this to me to review, because, you know, I don't have $300 for the statue, but I think it looks awesome. Rick is in a great pose. And if you're interested, I have started a podcast recently called The Nerdy Bull Podcast with some of my friends, including my buddy Scotty who lent this to me. So if you want to go check that out, look us up on SoundCloud, The Nerdy Bull Podcast. But I dig this. This is really cool. Thanks for watching.